On camera, Chris Hemsworth and Tom Holland treat Ryan Reynolds like the Marvel Cinematic Universe's resident class clown, someone worth mocking on talk shows and dunking on over Twitter, but never worth taking seriously as a creative equal. That's the version of this story most people see, and it's the version that gets clipped, captioned, and passed around online every time it happens. But look past the jokes at the production deals, the casting decisions, and the franchise strategy actually playing out behind the scenes, and a very different picture starts to form. Has Ryan Reynolds become powerful enough inside Marvel that his creative influence is now genuinely colliding with the studio's traditional stars? The jokes might not be jokes at all. They might be the only place this power struggle is actually allowed to show up in public. Start with the jokes, because they're where this story hides in plain sight. When fans online began begging for a Spider-Man and Deadpool crossover, the kind of team-up that would break the internet if it happened, Tom Holland had the perfect response waiting. Instead of even entertaining the idea of sharing a scene with Ryan, he explained, almost too casually, that Peter Parker was already locked into a bromance with Mysterio, and that wasn't something he planned on disrupting for anyone, Deadpool included. The actor behind Mysterio in Far From Home, Jake Gyllenhaal, happened to be standing right next to Tom while he said it, which meant Tom picked Jake over Ryan as publicly as it gets, on camera, with Ryan's own name having just been raised as the alternative.
People are hoping that we might get to see Spider-Man and Deadpool team up, not asking you to confirm or deny any of that, but let's say it does happen.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips on how Tom should deal with Ryan Reynolds?
I don't know who is Ryan Reynolds.
Who's right? He was in Deadpool. Did you see Deadpool?
No.
It's like, he's the other guy who has a mask like yours but isn't as cool as your mask, right? They're both right.
Chris Hemsworth's most cringe-worthy dig came out of a Fox 5 sit-down fans still resurface online whenever this dynamic comes up. An interviewer walked in wearing a Deadpool-themed tie, clearly betting it would be a cute nod to Ryan's character, and Chris shut that down instantly, telling him on camera that a Thor tie would have been the correct choice, then physically covering the Deadpool tie with a picture of Thor. You go. It was a small moment, barely 30 seconds of footage, but it did exactly what Chris seemingly wanted it to do. It drew a very public line between Thor's corner of the franchise and Deadpool's, with Chris standing firmly on the side he considers the serious one. Later, during a family celebration where his son ended up face first in a stack of birthday candles, Chris used the moment to announce, half joking and half not, that he'd happily step into the Deadpool suit himself if Ryan ever walked away from the role. Ryan tried to laugh it off by suggesting they swap roles entirely. Chris in the red suit, Ryan under the hammer. Cute idea. There's really no version of that swap where Chris comes out looking replaced. Tom Holland has never shied away from trading barbs publicly either. When Ryan posted online about getting a full Brazilian wax to gear up for his Deadpool role, clearly fishing for buzz the way Maximum Effort always does, Tom clapped back almost instantly, replying that he'd already done exactly that himself, beating Ryan at his own shock value game. And when Ryan's film Free Guy rolled out a wave of celebrity cameos, he made a point of publicly thanking the stars who'd shown up. But Chris Hemsworth wasn't one of them, even though at that point he ranked among the biggest box office names attached to the Marvel Universe. Chris shrugged it off publicly, and Ryan, instead of just owning the oversight, tried to deflect blame onto Chris Evans, claiming Evans had told him Chris Hemsworth wasn't camera ready. Fans online noticed exactly what that deflection looked like. Taken together, these moments are the kind of public interactions that could easily suggest Hemsworth and Holland see Ryan's constant, wall-to-wall comedic style as something less serious than the acting craft they've built their own careers around.
Trash talk me, say some horrible things about me, so got my dad here to say a few things about you.
I'm not your dad.
You are my dad. And why don't you tell him what you think of him?
Top man.
He's not a top man, we talked about this before. Tell him all the stuff that we discussed. You hate him. He said you're the worst actor, the least favourite Canadian in the whole world. It's not ridiculous. This is what we talked about. And you said you hate aviation gin because it's disgusting.
That's my favourite drink.
It's not your favourite drink.
That's one reading, but there's another way to look at the exact same set of moments, and it's the one worth actually digging into. What if the jokes aren't really about comedy at all, and they're a reaction to something much bigger happening underneath? Because underneath the banter, Ryan has quietly built one of the more unusual power bases in modern Hollywood. He co-founded Maximum Effort with George Dewey back in 2018, a company that operates as part production studio, part in-house ad shop, designed to give Ryan control over a film's entire life cycle, starting at early development and stretching out to the ad spots that air months after release. He takes over scripts. He replaces writers who don't fit his exact comedic vision. And he keeps a tight grip on the news cycle around his own productions too. During filming on Deadpool and Wolverine, Ryan wanted to shoot key scenes outdoors instead of on a soundstage with a green screen, which meant photographers and fans could catch glimpses of the shooting and leak plot details Marvel wanted kept under wraps. Dewey and the team reportedly responded by seeding deliberately misleading, fabricated photos of the set across social media, flooding it with confusing leaks, specifically to keep fans guessing about what was real. One of the clearest examples of Ryan's hands-on approach to scripts surfaced during production on Free Guy itself. Screenwriter Matt Lieberman spent years shaping that script, but once Ryan and director Sean Levy stepped in, the project got reworked almost top to bottom, and Lieberman was eventually swapped out for writer Zach Penn. Ryan then spent much of the film's press cycle describing it as essentially his own idea, largely erasing the original writer's contribution from the public narrative. That pattern is documented specifically around Free Guy. Whether the same approach is playing out inside the Marvel franchise right now is something fans and industry watchers online have been piecing together from the outside. It isn't something Ryan or Marvel has confirmed directly, so treat it as an emerging theory rather than an established fact. Maximum Effort also blends filmmaking and marketing from day one of production, using a technique the company calls fast-vertising, building and releasing ads within hours of whatever's trending, instead of waiting on traditional marketing cycles or focus group testing. That speed helped Ryan and Dewey build serious leverage across Hollywood fast, and it's a very different model from how most actors turned producers operate. In June 2021, the marketing side of Maximum Effort was acquired by the advertising software firm MNTN, installing Ryan as the company's chief creative officer and handing him tech executive-level clout almost overnight, with reported plans backed by Morgan Stanley to eventually take the company public. Maximum Effort also runs its own channel through a deal with Fubo TV called the Maximum Effort Network, where Ryan oversees a slate that includes bedtime stories with Ryan and a Bruce Campbell-fronted series called Discontinued, alongside a National Geographic documentary series called Underdogs, made with Wild Star Films. Put it all together, and you're not looking at an actor with a side hustle. You're looking at someone who has built parallel infrastructure across advertising, television, and streaming, all of it pointed at reinforcing the same brand. That's a genuinely large business footprint for an actor to be sitting on, and it's the part of this story that rarely gets discussed alongside the jokes. But money and infrastructure only get you so far in a franchise this size, and Ryan's biggest source of actual leverage is simpler than any of that: what Deadpool and Wolverine made at the box office. The film, a joint production between Marvel Studios, Maximum Effort, and Sean Levy's 21 Laps Entertainment, carried a reported budget of $429 million and pulled in over $1.3 billion globally, landing as 2024's second biggest earner behind only Disney's Inside Out 2. That's the kind of number that reshapes how seriously a studio takes your creative opinions, and it's a big part of why this story is worth taking seriously as more than just an actor being egotistical. Numbers like that buy influence in any boardroom, and reportedly, Ryan used that box office performance directly in conversations with Marvel executives. the pitch essentially amounting to pointing at the receipts and making the case that the studio needed him more than he needed them. He co-wrote the film's script alongside Rhett Reese, Paul Wernick, and Zeb Wells, and made sure it took direct, pointed shots at Marvel's recent stumbles along the way, at one point breaking the fourth wall to call himself Marvel Jesus on screen. A line fans online have debated ever since as either self-aware genius or exactly the kind of ego trip Chris Hemsworth has been complaining about. Here's where it's worth being precise about what's actually confirmed versus what's interpretation, because this is the part of the story carrying the most weight. What's on the record? Kevin Feige stood at the Deadpool and Wolverine premiere and told reporters plainly that Marvel was entering a new mutant-focused era, and the film itself introduced concepts like anchor beings and leaned on the time variance authority to explain how old 20th century Fox characters could now exist inside the Disney-run Marvel universe. What's this video's interpretation? Not a confirmed fact that Ryan personally pressured Feige into that pivot and that years of planned Kang storyline got shelved specifically because of Ryan's box office leverage. Marvel hasn't described it in those terms publicly, but the timing and the fact that Ryan's characters now sit at the center of the franchise's next chapter is exactly why fans have connected those particular dots. At Disney's D23 fan event, Marvel formally announced the cast for its upcoming X-Men film, set for May 5th, 2028, and built entirely around the mutant characters Ryan pushed toward the center of the franchise. The biggest shock of that announcement came when Adam Driver appeared in a video message sent directly to the D23 crowd, revealing he'll be playing Nathaniel Milbury, a scientist who experiments on mutants. That new cast lineup makes one thing fairly clear. Ryan's corner of the universe now has a genuinely central seat at the table, not a guest spot on the sidelines of a franchise that still belongs to Thor, Iron Man, and Spider-Man. Which brings this back to Tom Holland and to the other half of this story that rarely gets framed as anything more than jealousy. While Chris was fighting through interviews and social media jabs, Tom was fighting a completely different kind of battle, one built on contracts rather than punchlines. He's held the Peter Parker role since 2016, and watching Ryan absorb more and more of the franchise's creative direction reportedly made him realize his own character's future was genuinely at stake. He sat down with Rich Roll for nearly 2 hours and used the conversation to lay out a very different approach to his future with Spider-Man. Using a huge chunk of that time to lay out a new approach, and by the end of it, he'd made one thing clear. He's done simply taking orders from the studio. To back that up, Tom launched his own production company, Billy 17, and reportedly negotiated new terms with Sony that give the company a producing role on his upcoming films, terms that would hand him real say over both story and character going forward. That's a meaningfully different move than anything Chris Hemsworth has done publicly, where Chris has been fighting this battle with interviews and one-liners. Tom has been fighting it with lawyers and production credits, which arguably makes his pushback the more consequential one, even though it gets far less attention online. Through the Billy 17 banner, he's already developing an original Sony project called Burnt, though his real leverage in this standoff is the influence he's built around the next Spider-Man film. He's been fairly direct about it. If Marvel tries to force him into a Deadpool cameo purely to fill out a release schedule, he says he'll walk away from the project. He's also reportedly pulled Zendaya into this, and according to accounts that have circulated among fans online rather than confirmed reporting, she pushed back on an early script draft that had flattened her character, insisting on keeping her personality sharp and distinct. That specific detail is worth flagging as fan speculation rather than something on the record, unlike the Sony production deal itself, which has been more widely reported. Chris Hemsworth's version of this same pushback has looked less like contracts and more like public commentary on where the franchise's tone should go, which fits, since he's never built anything resembling Ryan's business infrastructure or Tom's production leverage. His weapon has always been the interview circuit. Chris opened up to Vanity Fair magazine about how much he regrets his work on Thor, Love and Thunder, saying the constant riffing and chaos of the shoots swept him up until he'd basically turned into a parody version of himself, and that the movie never quite landed.
So recently in his Furiosa press tour, he talked about how he still can't forgive himself for Thor Love and Thunder, and he said he got caught up in the improv and wackiness and became a parody of himself. He also believes he owes fans another Thor movie after the reception of Thor 4.
Taika Waititi, who leaned into the same non-stop improv-heavy style Ryan built his own Deadpool films around, directed that movie, and by choosing the word parody specifically, Chris was taking a fairly direct shot at the entire style of filmmaking Maximum Effort has built its brand on. He's told the press he felt genuinely useless on set once the tone shifted that direction, and Ryan, fully aware how much that comparison stings, still took a dig at Thor inside Deadpool and Wolverine itself. Do not speak. That line wasn't pulled from any real Thor movie. Ryan pulled archival clips from Thor, The Dark World, and re-edited them, splicing Chris Hemsworth's genuine, serious emotion into a moment built entirely around Deadpool's brand of humor.
Is that me? Is that Thor? Is he crying?
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. That happens in the distant future.
He then posted a picture of Thor crying online with the caption, "I know why Thor was crying. I can't unknow it." And Chris clapped back, telling Ryan flatly, "I can keep secrets too." A line that reads a lot less like a joke and a lot more like a reminder that Chris is still one of the franchise's original, foundational stars. All of which sets up Avengers Doomsday as the moment this tension actually gets tested on screen. Fans have been vocal about cameo and multiverse fatigue across TikTok and Reddit for months, complaining that too many recent releases prioritize jokes over story, and Marvel reportedly responded by opening the checkbook for the people who built this franchise's credibility in the first place, paying a reported $80 million to bring directors Anthony and Joe Russo back for Doomsday and its follow-up, Avengers Secret Wars, and reportedly paying a substantial sum to bring Robert Downey Jr. back into the fold. That alone is worth sitting with for a second. Studios don't spend that kind of money on a whim. They spend it when they think the direction of a multi-billion-dollar franchise genuinely needs correcting. Filming ran from April through September 2025 across Pinewood Studios in London and Buckinghamshire, England, with a reported budget around $500 million and, reportedly, more than 60 recognizable actors in the cast, coordinated using specialized scheduling software and what crew members have nicknamed magic call sheets, so nobody ended up on set the wrong day. The story itself is being kept serious. The multiverse is collapsing, and the heroes face down Doctor Doom, a character convinced that seizing total control over the universe is the sole path to saving it, with Robert Downey Jr. reportedly working closely with the Russos to give Doom real backstory rather than playing him as a straightforward villain. To be clear, describing this as Ryan's camp versus a more traditional camp is this video's read on the tension. Not an official studio position, and nobody at Marvel has framed it that way publicly. But it's a useful lens for what's actually at stake in Doomsday. If Ryan's comedic sensibility wins out creatively, expect the film to lean into fourth-wall breaks and cameo-driven humor. If the more dramatically minded instincts of Holland, Hemsworth, and Downey Jr. win out instead, expect real leadership stakes and the kind of dramatic weight that made this franchise a cultural force to begin with. Either way, the jokes were never really the whole story. They were the visible surface of a much bigger fight over who actually gets to decide what this franchise becomes next, playing out through box office numbers, production credits, and casting announcements just as much as through tweets and talk show digs. So, where do you land on this one? Has Ryan Reynolds genuinely earned his growing creative footprint inside Marvel? Or is the old guard right to be pushing back this hard against it? Drop your take in the comments, because this fight over Marvel's future is clearly nowhere near finished. Thank you so much for watching. If this one kept you hooked, make sure to like the video and subscribe to Clout Fallout so you don't miss the next update on this story.